Good morning. My name is Erica, and you are listening to an episode of Raising Light Babies, where we talk about conscious parenting and how we can break generational curses and also avoid traumatizing our children with our mess. Today, I want to talk about a couple different subjects, and hopefully, by the end of this, they will all come together. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is fatherhood. I wanted to talk about the importance of fatherhood, but specifically for fathers that are no longer with the mother of their children. I think that in that kind of dynamic, there can sometimes be a fear that exists. I'm no longer with this lady. She might be crazy, or maybe I did something to her. A father will, whether or not dad is willing to take the blame for what has happened, or even willing to see the part that they played in the deterioration of the relationship. There tends to be sometimes a fear that the mother of their children is going to like poison their minds against dad. And I wanted to speak to that because in this way, I want to say that whether or not that's true, the only thing that's going to combat it is for you, dad, to be a part of your child's life. And being a part of your child's life doesn't necessarily mean like contributing financially towards birthday parties or vacations or big events, but rather in their day to day life. One thing that I noticed as a mom, as my son was growing up in daycare, even in like elementary school, is that when children talk about their fathers, they don't necessarily speak to the things that we would think they speak to, like the big events. Yes, they might say, "Yeah, I've been to France," or "Yeah, I've been to Italy. My dad took me to this place. My mom took me on a cruise." Yeah, but there is a part of that conversation between children in which they speak of the day to day with their parents. Like, "Oh, my mom really likes that snack," or "My dad brushes his teeth with this toothpaste. My dad uses that toothpaste," or "My dad has that shirt," or "Oh, you wear the same underwears as my dad." These are the little things that they notice. And I think that it's important for us as conscious parents, especially when raising children in blended families, to keep that in mind, that the regular day to day is almost more important than the big events. Because while they will remember the big events, the day to day will have a strong impact on their character, on their habits. And a lot of times, too, I think that out of a feeling of when we're dealing with our own mess in life, and I think mothers too, we have a tendency to want to separate our children from the ugly parts of us, from our shadow, from the parts of us that get angry, from the parts of us that have road rage or that like gangster rap. But all of this integrating your shadow is this process in which you accept the ugly parts of you. You accept both sides of the coin. Not in a way that like, all right, I'm no longer going to grow, or I'm not going to try to be better in life. Not in a way of like stagnating, but in a way of accepting, of taking away the shame that you might feel towards the things that you've been conditioned, the parts of you that you've been conditioned that are bad, right? For women, one of those things might be anger. I think to some extent for men too, or immaturity, or emotional, showing emotion. But I think that when we are able to look at ourselves as a whole human being, as a growing human being, as an evolving human being, that's when we are able to start to see ourselves for what we are and enjoy the present. Enjoy the part of us that is in the growing, that is in the transitioning, and celebrate that. Why do we have a shadow self? We have a shadow because of the things that we have had to go through, because of the things that we have had to evolve from, because of where we came from. Personally, I'm somebody that I like to step back and take a look at situations from a bird's eye view. And I developed that skill or habit of taking of it can kind of be perceived as ghosting, but it's not, because I always come back. It's just a question of, wait a minute, I really got to think about this. Even I have a healthy amount of skepticism even towards things that are good, because I've had to protect myself from being sold a pipe dream, right? So even though my healthy skepticism can be seen as negative by some, I've had to develop that skill to protect myself from something super specific that I lived and cycles that I've had to break. And the way that I was able to break those cycles of overgiving, of being overly optimistic, of being met and broken by pessimism, was to have a healthy and integrate a healthy dose of skepticism, right? So if someone is telling me, yeah, 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 I'm gonna take you to Disneyland. Yeah, 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 I'm gonna give you $80,000. On the one, there's a side of me like it's like awesome, like let's manifest this $80,000. Let's go. Let me go. Let me focus on spending this right now and making my life better with this. And yet there's a part of me that is skeptical. That's like, wait a minute, there are some questions to be asked. I think that that comes with maturity. But a lot of times when we haven't fully integrated our shadows, we can hate that part of ourselves, or think of that part of ourselves as a mistake, or think of that part of us as being something that we should try to get rid of. Like, this part of me was created by a traumatic event, and so I don't need it anymore. No, I need it. I need it to protect myself, and to assure myself that that's how I'll never get back into the cycle like that. Right? So another thing I remember, I went one time. I just started dating this guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I want our friends to meet. Let's like organize a lunch, a dinner, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, awesome, let's do it." So our friends meet, and at the end of the dinner, he's like, "Oh, it's all on me. I'll pay for everybody's food, and I'm gonna pay for everybody's stuff." And everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you really don't have to do that." He's like, "No, I insist, I insist, I insist." And then he looks at me. He's like, "Put it on your card." And I was like, "Okay, I'll put it on my card," thinking that he would like pay me back or that we would get it. I didn't see it as a problem, because I was like, we're a team, right? If we're a team, then it's okay. Like, we'll handle it one on one later. And this man never gave me the money back. And that taught me to always have myself. Even when in a relationship, even when I'm on a team, the team is still me and them. It cannot be. I cannot lose myself to the promises of someone else, because even though I take my promises very seriously, others don't. Others don't. So that's something that has brought me to where I am today. And wanting to hide that from my son can be detrimental. It if I tried to hide it because of the shame that I felt around that general feeling of mistrust towards people, even though I would be denying the positivity and the experiences and the growth that brought me to have that. So, this is an extremely long winded way of saying that we have to strive to be authentic around our children, even with things that we think are not positive, are negative. Even you might say to yourself, "Oh, but I don't like my body, so I'm not going to go to the pool, but I want to go to the pool with my son, but I'm not going to go in the pool until my body is more looks more of what I want it to look like." But what you're showing your child when you're showing him that is that perfection comes over connection, right? You have no idea what seeing your imperfect body at the pool having fun, swinging around in the sunlight will do for your child's self-esteem, for your child's body image. And sometimes the braver thing to do is to let them see your imperfection. Because there will come a time where they will have to decenter you as a parent. They, there will come a time where my son will have to decenter me as the center of his universe and center himself. And why not let that happen gradually? Why not allow your child to see that you are not the end all be all? You are not the perfect human being sent here. You are not the second coming. Let them see your scars, your emotional scars, your vulnerability, because for all we know, those sides of you that you try to hide or protect are just as just as much the reason for your success as your strengths are. In a previous podcast, I spoke about the things that I feel, or I tell myself every morning, you are exactly who you need to be to conquer today. You are exactly it. You might be evolving, you might be training for something bigger for tomorrow, but the obstacles of today, you got them. You are exactly who you need to be. You are wearing exactly what you need to wear. Your makeup looks exactly the way it needs to look. You are exactly who you need to be today to overcome the obstacles of today. Period. And that level of self acceptance breeds bravery. And it has helped me to overcome my feelings of inadequacy, my imposter syndrome, my feeling of not belonging. And as we already spoke, modeling is the way to raise babies. By modeling the behaviors that that have taken us out of our ugly cycles, our cycles of trauma. One way of doing that is telling him or her, telling your child, you are exactly who you need to be to face the challenges of today. And then letting them face their challenges. I'm someone that grew up around a lot of TV. When I was younger, I had a TV in my room and my brother had a computer. So we would play Mortal Kombat on the computer or some video games that we had on the computer, and we had video games in my room. And but we mostly watched a lot of Nickelodeon, a lot of Disney Channel, a lot of movies. We were always watching movies and doing other stuff, but the TV was like always on. And because of that, I like dealing with that. I've had to have an entire process in which I've dealt with the overconsumption of propaganda. I'm sorry to call it that way, but that's what it is. Of being told who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to look like, how I'm supposed to act, how I'm supposed to speak. And for a long time, I explained that to my son. I said, listen, in life, we are the one who decides what happens. But when you watch a movie, someone already decided for you. And when you watch too much of that stuff, will only cement you. It will only make it harder for you to decide to live outside of the box because it is literally the box. When you go and watch a movie in which the mother is always angry, you're going to think that it's normal for mothers to always be angry. And when you become a mother, you will feel that it's normal to always be angry, to always scream, to always be detached and uninvolved. Because that is the image of motherhood that was placed on the television, in the shows. Even though that is that is not the truth. You have the power to decide what you want to be as a parent. You have a power to decide what you want to be as a child. You have the power to decide what that looks like. My son is right now identifies as the soccer player, as a sports kid. But he has the power to decide what that means for himself. Just because you are the sports kid doesn't mean that you need to fill all of the archetypes of a sports kid. I tell him all the time that when I graduated from college, the the valedictorian of my graduating class was a football player with a 4.5 GPA, an Albright scholar who double majored and played college football. This is not the norm. This is not what we are taught. However, it's possible. So that work of taking the limits of the box off of my mind, out of my mindset, is something that took me a very long time and a lot of different experiences. So I teach him that. I've taught him that. And even though I've taught him that, these last few months, I've seen him get a little bit sucked into the television, watching a lot of it. And I've decided it's time to allow him to feel the effects of that, of which I've been warning him for years. But now it's time for him to have his own experience about it. I've modeled that behavior. I don't my TV is never on. It's so rare that I would watch television that if I'm watching television, he will come and be like, "What? Your TV's on." And I'm like, "Yeah, I thought I would turn it on today." But all of this is a way to say that our children need to see who we are, what we want, what we like, the mistakes we make. And I mean, if you make a mistake, explain it to them. Sometimes I explain things to my son and he'll be like, "Mom, why are we talking about this?" Like, because I want you to know. I want you to know about my life. Because knowing about my life is a way for him to learn the lessons, to see a full picture of me. So, yeah, I implore you guys today to show up. Show up in your authenticity for your kids. Show up in the mess that you are so that they can see that life isn't perfect, that people are not perfect, but that we're all trying. We're all trying to better ourselves and we're all enjoying the present. Anyway, if you enjoy this type of content, I encourage you to subscribe. And if you don't, keep it pushing, baby. Don't let me hold you because it's just going to keep getting weird. Bye, y'all.